Hello and welcome back, and today I have a poem for you. Roses are red, violets are blue, 5 fingers on one hand, and the thumbs up goes to you for clicking on this video about The Challenge Season 41, Vets and New Threats, Episode 13. Either lucky number 13 or unlucky number 13, depending on how you view this episode. Personally, I think it's unlucky number 13 because I found this episode a little bit too predictable, and every time I thought that it could take an interesting turn, it ultimately didn't. But we'll get into all the details throughout this episode and where I think it could have been more interesting or more interesting decisions being made as we go through this review and recap. Let's first start off where last episode left off, and that was Theo and Adrian winning in the elimination against Derek and Dee and coming back to the challenge house. You have the majority alliance pretty unhappy that Theo and Adrian are not only back, but they won, and Theo is going to be so boastful about this elimination win, although they look at it as Derek just having a really terrible no good day instead of giving props to Theo. Then we have a barrage of phone calls back home where we have America talking to her boyfriend Corey, Olivia talking to her friend Ryan, Justin talking to his mom, Leroy talking to Cam and his kids, as well as Jake talking to Lenny, who is a proper boy. With so many phone calls coming in all at once, I was trying to read into the edit and read into these phone calls on who in fact will be important and have an impact on this week's episode, and who was possibly a smokescreen. What stuck out to me was America being utilized in a confessional prior to the phone calls, and then also being shown to have a phone call from back home. Unfortunately, from episodes 0 to 12, America has not been seen in the edit or getting a lot of camera time. So seeing her this much prior to the daily challenge kinda sent red alarms. But let's put a pin in that as everybody dons their challenge gear, head down to meet up with TJ for this week's daily challenge called Haystack Heist. In this daily challenge, the pairs will be tethered together. They'll have to work together to move hay barrels over to a pole. They'll stack the hay in order to try to climb up the pole and get a key. They'll have to collect 2 different keys from 2 different poles on opposite sides of this field. They'll run to the haystacks, uncover a chest, use the keys to open the chest. The team that can open their chest first will win into power, win into safety, where the last place team will be going directly to the elimination. I thought this daily challenge was alright, mostly boring though, as it was 3 different daily challenges that we have already seen combined into one, where you have in episode 1, everyone was tethered together for the mud pit challenge. I feel we're in the same field as the Him movie sponsored daily challenge, as well as the banded together daily challenge where they had to carry heavy stuff a long distance, which is very much this challenge as well. At least the ending was a little bit thrilling as it was close between the last 2 placed teams, but overall was just competitors carrying heavy objects, which we have seen multiple times in this season already. Again, not every daily challenge is going to be a home run. I just wish it was a little bit more exciting and a little bit more creative. Some notable moments that happened in this daily challenge: you had America struggling very early on, where she could barely carry 1 haystack until her and Leroy could figure out a system in which she was able to carry it like a backpack. But with those first couple of runs, it seemed as though that Leroy only took 1 haystack at a time, which really set them back in pace. At one point, Michaela twisted her ankle, which looked bad in the moment, but she was able to walk it off, and she looked perfectly fine throughout the rest of the daily challenge. It seems like there was very little harm done to her ankle. Will and Olivia argued per usual. They are not working well with each other, they are not communicating well, and it was really bad in this daily challenge in particular because last week they had their struggles, but they finished 3rd. This week, they struggled and they finished 7th. I thought this daily challenge was going to be the straw that broke the camel's back, either for Will or Olivia. That they would go back to the challenge house, really think it over, and then one of them would have staked a claim in someone else, that we would see a claim game being happened, and that would have been so exciting. I mean, we get back to the challenge house and Will is talking to Cedric about how this isn't the same Olivia and she's not taking it very seriously. Then you have Olivia saying that Will is a terrible partner and that she would rather be with like Leo. I was primed and ready for a shakeup to happen, and nothing did. And I was very disappointed with that. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get back to the daily challenge where the top 2 performing pairs are Theo and Adrian and Justin and Nani. Theo and Adrian got off to a hot start, taking 3 haystacks while everyone else was taking 1 or 2. Justin and Nani saw their strategy, was able to employ it, and they were doing consistently well. Theo and Adrian had a chance of getting their second key and being on easy street to get the win and safety finally. But Theo was so stubborn that he dismissed Adrian, saying, hey, why don't you just try to get the key? Theo said, no, we need at least 1 more. Justin and Nani strategically stacked the hay on their side to get a little bit more height with each stack. Justin was able to climb up, get their second key, unlock their chest, and get the win before Theo and Adrian open up their chest. Theo and Adrian are frustrated. More so, Theo was not perceptive on how many keys or when Justin and Nani got their second key, and Adrian was just mad that Theo didn't even listen to her. The rest of the results are that Aviv and Jeremy got 3rd place, Ashley and Leo got 4th place, 5th place was Michaela and Cedric, 6th place was Anissa and Jake, 7th place is Olivia and Will, and the bottom 2 teams are Leroy in America and Turbo in Sydney. I was getting goosebumps at the idea of this Theo and Turbo rivalry coming to a head when they would be going into the elimination against each other. With Theo and Adrian now not in the winner's seat, they are most likely going to be voted in. So the thought of Turbo and Sydney getting last place, oh, it would have been so great. I mean, the feud between Turbo and Theo had been bubbling up that if they could just face off against each other, where one could be victorious, would have been the ultimate way to end this rivalry. But when it came down to the performance, it was so close. They were seconds apart, but it was Turbo and Sydney able to lock in 8th place, where Leroy and America just barely got last place and was being sent directly to the elimination this week. Now, with everybody coming back to the challenge house, the Majority Alliance is not very happy that one of their own numbers, Leroy and America, are being sent directly to the elimination, as well as one of their numbers have won into safety with Nani and Justin. Those are 2 votes now off the table, and the numbers are shrinking to the point where 1 burn vote, 1 swing vote could change the course of the game. Michaela is trying to drop seeds of doubt, drop some names for future votes. 1, to keep her and Cedric safe, but also start taking some pokes and prods at some of the bigger names and stronger pairs. While Will and Cedric are talking with one another, Michaela points out that Aviv, Jeremy, and Ashley are all talking to each other, and that Aviv and Jeremy are being pretty snaky as of late, and maybe we should keep our eyes on them for a later vote. Michaela also states that Theo and Adrian in that side of the house will most likely be pushing Turbo and Sydney as the vote, since they got second to last place and they're trying to save their own butts. This is exactly their plan, because when we're at the bar, Jake is trying to plead with Leo to vote with their numbers in the house. Put your foot down to Ashley, tell her what you're thinking, and this could be a really good strategic move. This is a great time to vote with us. Now that the numbers are so close, vote with us to send a really strong pair into the elimination and just test them out. What if Leroy and America could win against them? Leo is taking all this information. Now, I will say that in this edit, there's a lot of players that are saying that Leo is getting walked all over by Ashley and their alliance, that he is just folding like a lawn chair. Leo and some people on social media have said that they actually do have a lot to say in their pairing, that he has talked with Ashley, they talk a lot of things over. It's not just completely Ashley making decisions for the both of them, but when it comes down to it, Ashley has the numbers. Why not just go with the numbers and be good with the majority in the house, rather than getting a week of safety voting for the opposite side that you've been working with, and then what, try to go back the next week? Because of this very logical thinking, it leads to very predictable and somewhat boring results. As we get to the voting ceremony and TJ asks if anybody would like to stake a claim, nobody stakes a claim. So again, it makes a lot of sense that nobody tries to stake a claim, because the numbers are so close. They want to see if they can try to send somebody else into the elimination, maybe have one swing vote and keep themselves safe, rather than stake and then send yourself in. It just leads to a little bit of boring stuff. At the end of the day, it's 4 votes for Theo and Adrian to 3 votes for Turbo and Sydney, where Theo and Adrian are being sent into the elimination against Leroy and America for this week's elimination called Think Alike. The 4 players will be playing in this like puzzle merry-go-round where each team has 2 tanagrams that they have to complete. The apparatus will be spinning them and they have to try to solve the puzzles as they are passing by their own puzzle stations. They can't touch the other team's puzzles to mess them up. The first pair to solve both their puzzles will win and stay in the game, while the other pair will be eliminated. This elimination, I'm sure, looks good on paper and in theory, but it was kind of boring to me to watch these 2 teams fumble on their puzzles for over 45 minutes. Maybe if it was made up of 2 pairs that could do tanagrams, that it would have been a lot more exciting. I just found this elimination to be kind of boring and it took so long. This seemed to be tailor-made for Leroy and America. However, Theo and Adrian were able to solve one of their puzzles first. Now, Leroy and America had one of their puzzles pretty much done, like 99% done. They just had one puzzle piece missing and they could not find it. Theo, with his quick thinking, reached his hand to the top of the puzzle instead of the bottom of the puzzle to find one last puzzle piece where Adrian was able to push that in. They were able to get an early lead for the longest time until finally a concession had to be made because both teams were messing up, both teams could not solve these puzzles, and they just kept going around and around and around and around. Finally, TJ was like, okay, we're going to stop the merry-go-round. Each person from each team will get 1 minute at their puzzle every single time until one of these puzzles is solved and we can crown a winner and finally get out of here. Leroy and America were able to get one puzzle done. It was tied 1-1. Both teams were struggling no matter who was on the puzzle, but alas, it was finally Theo and Adrian who put the last 3 pieces together and got the win. Him and Adrian, even though they were arguing back and forth throughout this entire elimination, they were able to get on the same page, stay on the same page, hold their communication. That's another thing, is that yes, they were arguing with each other, but there was a point where America was like, Leroy isn't talking to me. He's overly focused on these puzzles and we're just not being able to communicate well. So yes, Theo and Adrian were arguing, but they were communicating at the same time, whereas I feel like the communication breakdown happened between America and Leroy, where Leroy is not very good at these puzzles. America, on the other hand, is good at puzzles, but I'm sure it would have been a lot better had she had her partner talking to her throughout this entire ordeal. So unfortunately, we have Leroy and America being eliminated and Theo and Adrian winning and staying in the game. And that's basically it for this week's episode and review and recap. I thought that this episode was fine. I thought that the daily challenge was meh at best. I'm glad that it came down to a nail-biting finish between the bottom 2 teams. But like I said at the beginning of this video, that the more exciting option of Turbo and Sydney losing didn't happen, to where we had Leroy and America being sent directly to the elimination. The possibility of a claim being made either by Olivia, Will, or Theo and Adrian did not happen because of the numbers being so close. Jake talking to Leo about possibly swapping numbers and being a swing vote didn't happen, and it led to a predictable vote of Theo and Adrian being sent into the elimination against Leroy and America, and then Theo and Adrian winning. Which I'm kind of happy about because I want the drama in the house to stay at a high level. But then again, if Theo and Adrian would have been eliminated, possibly the majority alliance would have had to start targeting each other, which sounds like it could be happening sooner rather than later because of Michaela dropping the seeds of Jeremy and Aviv being untrustworthy and being sneaky. We'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen next week. I hope next week is a little bit more exciting, as I just found this episode to be very predictable, less drama than the last few weeks, which is fine. It's going to have to subside. It can't be at a level 100 every single time, but this late in the game, I want to see some people taking some swings. I want to see some swing votes. I want to see strategy being made. We have this twist of staking the claim. I would like that to be seen. But maybe it's too early. Yes, the numbers were very close, so I understand why nobody did it. But at the same time, I just want to see some excitement happening. And this episode was by far the least exciting and least action-packed compared to the last 2 or 3 episodes. But even in saying that, it's not a bad episode, and I'm hoping that next week and the week after that, as we're getting closer and closer to the finals, that the level of excitement and drama just keeps on building and building and building at a consistent level. But that's my opinion. You don't have to agree with my opinion. In fact, if you don't agree with my opinion about this episode, let me know down in the comment section below. I want to hear what you have to say. What do you think about the daily challenge? What do you think about the elimination? What do you think about the vote being so close between Turbo, Sydney, and Theo and Adrian? What do you think about Leroy and America getting last place being sent directly to the elimination? And what do you think about the elimination? Think alike. Would you like to see either the daily challenge and or elimination be reused in a future season? And what do you think could happen in future episodes with staking a claim? Who do you think could stake a claim, if they will, between Will and Olivia? Because only one person from the pair can stake at a time. And what do you think about Theo and Adrian? Do you think they will ever stake a claim on someone else? Or do you think at this part of the game, they'll just stick together as they have worked well with each other, almost won the daily challenge, as well as won 3 eliminations together? Do you think it's smart that they stake a claim, or do you think they should just stick together? Employing the logic of don't fix what isn't broken. I can see pros and cons for both sides, but what do you think? Let me know down in the comment section below. And are you upset to see Leroy and America be eliminated from the game? Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. And now I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge 41 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.